I was just so cookie cutter before in real estate. Like there's so many ways I can go. And now I'm spending time educating myself and enjoying it to educate the people that I'm with and to offer them more opportunity where a lot of people don't think they have. Opportunity is limitless the second you allow yourself to see it.
Hey there, I am Dr. Jason Balara, and this is the Know Your Why podcast, where we explore the why behind success. Every week, I meet with real estate investors, veterinary entrepreneurs, mindset coaches, authors, and fitness professionals to uncover their why and how it drives them on the winding road to success. What is your why?
Hi everyone, I'm Jason Balara and this is the Know Your Why podcast. Today I'm here with Melissa Horne. Melissa is a licensed broker associate with RE/MAX Elite, serving Brevard County since 2019 and consistently ranking as a top producing agent. Melissa, as I said, the way I like to do this is to let you tell the story, and so I'm just going to stop there. We've already been talking sports and rivalries and things like that, which is very cool to me. But first, let me just say thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for taking the time. I'm excited to chat today, so I'm looking forward to this.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I too am very excited to be here, and I would be honored to tell you my story. So I don't know where to start. Let me start with I am practicing general brokerage in Brevard County, Florida since 2019. I did move to Florida in 2017, and I originally got my license in New York as a sales associate in 2014. But it wasn't until 2019 that I started gaining momentum in my career in a steady path. And there's been so many, in retrospect, right, when I look back on my life, I've always been a survivor. I've always had a survival mindset. So that meant grinding when it was time to grind, moving faster or changing my pace or hungry to get it done. And I was in a constant loop. And it wasn't until 2019 when I started really taking account of how do I stop the emotional roller coaster to be more productive and steadily growing. And then I realized I really didn't know what I wanted. Like I knew I wanted the survival stuff. I wanted money. I wanted to, make sure everybody was eating. I wanted to make sure I lived in a decent house in a decent neighborhood. But I never gave myself permission to say, well, what do I really want? Like, what is that absurdly retarded thing that I thought I could never get? And allow myself to want it and to go for it instead of just having this spectacular career and still living essentially what's paycheck to paycheck. So I started doing a lot of inward work. And that's when I believe everything has changed. So I have since 2019 nearly doubled my business every year. Since then, I did make some good decisions on the move to Florida by getting my broker's license instead of just saying sales associate. I started learning to have a relationship with money, which I'm still learning. And the biggest thing was, how do I take these little mindset changes and give them to my kids? How do I not show them like I'm a hard worker, I show up on time, I do all the things that you're supposed to do, right? Just to be a good person. Like those are the things that you're supposed to do to be a contributing member of society. But I wanted to give more than that. I wanted to give them the ability to know that they could do whatever they want to do by naming what it is they want and knowing that they deserve it, they can have it, and the rest just comes. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, it does. I think that's not an uncommon, I guess, kind of pathway. Like a lot of us come from the struggle side of it. You have that survival piece that you spoke about, like where you're just trying to get maybe almost away from something. like that's your your initial motivation is to get away from something, some level of pain. And I 100% agree, and that this is like a constant thing on my mind is with the kids is like, how do you teach them, as you said, like the basic the basic things that should be standard of a human, in that you're, you know, like show up on time, work hard, be good to people, like that kind of stuff, but also let them, and I mean not just them, let yourself think bigger, aim higher, like all of that without giving up that sort of baseline. And it's like it's a surprisingly hard shift to make, I guess. I think is what I've experienced anyway. And it's yeah, I mean it's still happening. I'm still working on it. So when you when you made that, you know, sort of shift into, I guess you moved to Florida, that maybe that was the big move. What did you do? You said you started looking inward. Like, what did you do? What did that look like for you to make those changes?
So I was very resistant at first because I always felt as a rebellious, crazy child to my 20s for a very extra long time, um, that, that that's where you found those corrections were through therapy and I was just not agreeable to that. Where first of all, I was completely resistant to getting that kind of help because it meant something was, my connotations that something was wrong with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't think anything was wrong with me. And I certainly was still going through, I didn't think my problems were so great that that's what I needed. I needed more self-esteem, but it wasn't more confidence, more knowing I was good enough. All those things I felt the therapist, and in my experience, a therapist couldn't get me out of those things, because I called the therapist once to say, hey, I don't know what's wrong. These are the things that I'm going through. And the therapist said to me, there's nothing wrong with you. You have a great life. You should be more grateful. I don't understand why you're here complaining. And then I got really pissed. Like, I was like, you're mad at me for coming here trying to get help, and then you're telling me there's nothing wrong with me. And that's when I decided, okay, well, I'm gonna have to figure this out on my own. I started reading. That's what I did first. I started reading. And I started reading like books that I had, like The Little Prince and The Alchemist. And The Alchemist really was probably one of the first ones that, because I've read these books dozens of times growing up, and they were fables. But something about where I was opening up when I read The Alchemist that time in the beginning of this journey, I was like, this is not about a love story. Like, I thought it was about a boy who was looking for the love of his life and, you know, was on the search for that. And it was not it at all. And then I just started getting recommendations and listening. I got a business coach too. I was like, maybe that's the answer. And I'll have to tell you, my business coaches have done more therapy work with me than business work based on these ideas. Reading was huge. And like you said, to take the little steps past what you know you're supposed to inherently do, be kind, be good, put good out. And I was always in the belief that, you know, giving is reciprocal, right? And for me, I had to learn where those boundaries were with giving, like where to learn how to say no. That was a really big thing for me to still be helpful and be able to say no. That was part of, again, now in retrospect, that I was being assertive for who I am and who I wanted to be, and that I was, without giving a no or a boundary, that I wasn't able to grow or give as much because I wasn't inviting the right people. So reading would have been the first thing that made a big change, and then applying the lessons, which is really a lot harder. You can read and read and read. And a lot of these motivational books and, you know, inward magnifying glass, if you will, all say the same thing in a different way. So it's finding the text and the words that resonate with where you are and what you're doing. And somehow it always seems to be the message that you take is the message you needed most at that moment. So if you're not constantly reading or seeking these adjustments you can make in your life to get to that, it would be huge. So after reading, I think what came next was actually having some sort of a routine. I was always flying by the seat of my pants. A routine, specifically journaling, was huge. Journaling and eating something healthy in the morning, as simple as that, made a huge change. And once that became habit, I just started picking one or two. Listen, I still have that fast northeast way about me. So it's like getting hit in the face with the fire hose every time I make these little discoveries of the changes that I want. So I need to say, pile on the plate, give it all to me. I'm going to do it all. And then when that doesn't work and I get slapped around a little bit, I'll be like, okay, I'm just going to do this one thing first. And then I'll move on to the next after. And so it's been that roller coaster for the last couple of years, because I'm still finding my way, but I'm very peaceful with finding my way now. I like it. I like the journey. So that's kind of it so far.
I I really like what you said there. You know, that you're still finding your way. I think everybody is. I mean, you like the number of times you hear about even like the people that you would look at as, you know, consider them uber successful in whatever arena. They have therapists and coaches and people support systems. Like we're all still finding our way, but it's, I think, you know, kind of backing up to what you were talking about, like it's the first part is like, I guess, awareness. And you said that, you know, that therapist sounds like a terrible therapist, but like the 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 point about there's nothing wrong with you, there isn't. And I think that's the thing, is like, it's like we think that there needs to be something wrong with us, and it has to be like this big dramatic thing that's wrong to go down that route of, you know, I guess self-discovery and awareness of changes you'd like to make. It's not like you don't have to make changes because something's terrible. It's just, I want more, or I want, you know, I don't want to have everything I think about come from that survival instinct. I want to look at life with an abundance mindset. I want to understand that, you know, okay, I can continue to be that person. And we talked about those things, like the putting good in the world. But I think a lot of times in the beginning that comes as, it's not for you, it's for everyone around you. And inside you might be like not feeling those same things about yourself. And so I think it's just like getting that awareness and then taking the steps. I've had the same experience as you from a like a business coach standpoint. Is I respond well to like true tactical, like, here's a thing we're going to go after. This is how we're going to do it. This is how it's going to make you feel less stress about, you know, this, like, versus let's talk about the feelings around it. Like, that works for some people. It's just, I want the action steps. And I feel like there's, you with a business coach, you do get a lot of therapy. I have cried to my business coach before, and that, like, and it's like, because you realize, like, oh man, I was holding all of this on me, and like thinking that if I didn't do X, the people that are important to me they would no longer like think I was worthwhile. Like the stuff that happens in your head and you don't even necessarily realize it's happening. And like that's where that stuff I think becomes really helpful. And then you contextualize that in relation to business development and what you want out of it.
Yeah, but it goes all across the board, right? Because once you start honing into those little things, you're like, I made up all these rules. I made these rules that, there's the reality of it, that eating something good in the morning is going to make you feel better throughout the day. But there's something to be said that, but I can still, eat Doritos for breakfast if I want, but it's going to make you feel like crap.
Right.
That's maybe a bad example, but the rules that I put on myself was how I had to behave with my children, how I had to behave in my business, what hours I had to have that behavior during. And what really happened was, although I was becoming more and more successful, I was getting further and further away from who I wanted to be in success, and who I wanted my children to model to be successful. Because what was happening, and I have an 11-year difference between my sons. One is 20 now and one is 8. So with Nicholas, I'm my older one, I missed so much of the beginning of his life because I was abiding by these rules that I thought were the reason why I was going to be successful. With Donnie was born while I was in this transition. So Nick is now 20, and that kid has work ethic like nobody's business. He's up at 5:30 in the morning, and he's at work, and he busts his hump, and he's forever looking for the next best position. He does this. But when he's angry, he doesn't know how to, did you do the dishes? No, I worked all day. Okay, well, you still got to do the dishes. We all live here, So he barks the way that I used to bark at him when I was stressed out about whatever was on my mind.
Yeah.
We talked to my little guy, and he's like, he wakes up in the morning. I'm like, what do you want to do before we leave? And he's like, let's do some affirmations. I want to get on the travel team. Let's look in the mirror and, say it's going to be a great day. Let's make an intention, mommy. I'm like, who are you? It's you see the difference. But Donnie's going through his growth, even at an 8-year-old, with this inherent joy, where Nick is still, and I'm working really hard because he's still very young. He's only 20. But to show him that the joy is still in there, and that I'm so sorry that, don't follow my example from when you were little. You're making a bucket load of money for a 20-year-old boy and are a superstar with your whole company. So let's take it down a notch because you live at home, okay?
It's it's funny the perspective kids will provide, and like just that if you let them, kind of the changes that they can almost instill in you, the things you can learn from them, and their perspective on the world and all of that. And it's like you said earlier that you started to learn how to say no, and there's a quote I heard, and I don't know who said this. I don't know who to attribute it to, but it's basically you're always saying no to someone, right? And so when you don't say no to your employer, your customer, your client, whatever, you're saying no to your kids, you're saying no to your partner, you're saying no to someone else, because you can't be in two places at one time. And so whether that's mentally or physically, you're saying no to someone. And so I try to remind myself of that a lot. And I try to do, it sounds like your kids have picked up on your reaction to the current situation based on where they are in their development. And I see that, like, and again, it's like another thing that it's like, it allows me to remind myself, like, my kids are whatever, they're doing something and they're fighting, or they're, arguing or doing something we don't want. And I yell at them. The irony of this, like, will strike me afterwards. Like, I just yelled at them to stop yelling. Like, I'm sure every parent does that, right? Like, well, I'm sure every single parent has done that. But like, I just yelled, stop yelling. And it's like, no, that completely doesn't make, when you can take a step back and like recognize that doesn't make any sense at all.
None.
That like, it's like, but yeah, you're caught up in the, so it's I think it's just like we said, like that awareness and that, you know, interest in figuring out a better way, like figuring out a better way. And you said like your 20-year-old saw things that you've changed about yourself, and it's he's 20, like that's still a kid, like that you still got plenty of time to figure it out. You have time. I'm 50, I have time to figure it out still. Like I have things I can get better at, like I'm not gonna stop. And I think that's probably like a really important point here, is like it doesn't really matter where you are in
No.
life.
Yeah, and I think
You
that's a
can,
really great thought because for so long, I'm 52, so I'm turning 50 this year. And for so long, I was fighting time internally. Like, I'm going to run
yeah,
out of time. I'm not at my goals. I haven't done this. I haven't done that. I haven't traveled the world, like all of it, right? And I'm like, but, but what you don't think about what you did do until you make that switch in your head. And you're like, well,
yeah,
wait a minute, look at this. Like
yeah,
we're living a very nice life. We go on vacation regularly. I have, I was always, well, not always, but in the most recent years, into the visualization stuff. And I'm like, but I'm not making it happen. So now one of the things I do is in the beginning of the year, I plan something with the boys that's at least 2 days for every quarter, so that I
oh,
know
nice.
that is on the calendar. I buy the tickets, even if it's something silly. Like, what did we do? We did the Globe. We did a weekend just in Orlando, like to do Disney, and because
Yeah,
I'm in Florida now, not in New York, even though I sound like I'm in New York still. We did like the Globetrotters, Disney, like this whole weekend just in Orlando. We're doing South Carolina for like the family thing. So it's not anything extravagant or big, but it's someplace or something we haven't done before, and that we're all together and we're forced to be there together and love each other. And it's always an adventure. So little things like that. And I liked what you said about you always saying no to somebody. And what I thought about when you were talking about that is it was me. I was saying no to myself. Like,
hmm,
not only was I taking the time away from my children or my duties in the house, I was always saying no to me, and I was never putting myself first. And I felt guilty about putting myself first. It was a really hard shift for me to make. And once I put myself first, because really, right, I don't know where I heard this. This is something that I've adopted in my brain. Like, they even teach you on planes to put the air mask on yourself first,
yeah,
right? And
yeah,
if you don't, you can't help other people. And I
right.
love helping other people. And I thought that if I wasn't giving the air mask out first, that I wasn't helping. And then that, when I heard that, that's what really snapped for me, that I need to breathe first. I need to take care of Melissa first. I need to put myself first, and I will be better to help more people in a much bigger capacity. So that's what I thought about that as soon as you said it. It was me.
Yeah, and that's a great point, because to be honest, I don't. I've I've I heard that quote and I remind myself of that quote a lot, but I can't say I've ever thought about I was saying no to me. I just like that thought didn't even cross my mind, which is true. It's absolutely true, and you do have to think about things like, your health, and kind of just taking care of yourself if you want to be there for others. And it kind of, as we were talking about this, one of the other parts of this that kind of allows me to feel less rushed, because I'm like, every year you get a little older, and I'm like, I don't have enough time to finish the things I want to finish, or do the things that, who knows how much time I have left. And then I started trying to really think of everything again, like in time, like time frames of my kids. And so if I think about it, okay, how I have however many years, but then my kids have 70, 90 years beyond that, like, you there's a whole lot you can accomplish in 100 plus years.
Oh yeah.
Like, there's like, and it's like, and this isn't like, oh, kids, you will have to take over whatever businesses I have. Like, it's more just like, from a larger picture, what can we give back to society? Like, what lessons can I pass to my kids? What about, the stuff that's important, like being good to other people, working hard. Like, it doesn't have to be a dollar amount. The dollar amount can be pretty good if you focus on a business that's 150 years old. You can have a really big business by then, but like that, if that's not the main goal, it allows you to step back and just enjoy the ride, like be
Yeah. And I think that goes
present.
back to something that you said before too, when we first started talking, people are inherently moving towards pleasure away from pain, right? And I think you see when people have started I certainly see it in myself. So I imagine that with a lot of people that become higher in their consciousness, it happens to them as well. That is essentially you stop moving away from pain and you start moving towards pleasure because your experience has changed, right? Like I'm not looking I've allowed myself to open my eyes to, put it out there, everything that I want. But what I want is the experience of joy. What I want is the experience of enthusiasm. And if I show up every day with that intention, if you will, or with that experience in mind, and I'm giving that to my children, and I'm saying, like, because once you, like, we're in sales, right? So it's the same thing. When you're selling to people, once you're uncovering motivation, right? And you're still doing that on yourself and your friends and your family. If you're
Yeah.
always looking for what it is, motivation really comes down to what feeling do you want from the thing that you want to go towards or get away from? And
Yeah.
if you can bring that feeling out or show up with that feeling every day, everything's limitless. Like you're going to get everything you want. You're going to give everything to everybody that they want. And it's a win. So getting out of your own way and knowing what you want to feel and experience is the change. That's it. If I had to name one thing, that's it.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, absolutely. That's like, again, I don't know who this is from. I probably heard it from Alex Hermosi, but I think he was quoting someone else. But basically, like, people remember you not for what you did for them, but how you made them feel. And so if your actions in business, if the way that you present yourself is in a way to make people have a good feel, it's gonna trickle back right down to you. Like you're good. It's like, and you don't have to completely give up yourself to do those things. Like it's nice to be to create a good a good feeling amongst people and be a part of that. And so I think that it's just kind of looking at things not from a pure numbers perspective, but from a impact and feeling good, whatever metric that is, the feeling good metric.
But it translates into sales numbers, right?
Yeah.
Because when I was focused on solely numbers, I made the numbers, but I didn't make the connections that added or equated to more numbers in the future.
Right.
Like I love people, so it's just, I really did. I was a bartender before a real estate agent. I was definitely a wild child with a lot of friends. I love people. I love people watching. I love to understand how they're different from me and, how do I be more like this or less like that? There's always those things. But when I stopped selling, I don't sell at all anymore, but I have more sales than I've ever had in my life. And I'm learning more about different avenues of my business that I was just so cookie cutter before in real estate. Like there's so many ways I can go. And now I'm spending time educating myself and enjoying it to educate the people that I'm with and to offer them more opportunity where a lot of people don't think they have. Opportunity is limitless the second you allow yourself to see it. And so many people are like stuck in the like I was in the survival. Like, I'm not that person. I can't do that. No, 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 you can. You can. And I feel like it's my job now to make sure everybody knows that they can.
Yeah. I mean, that's just an example of how that feeling that you can give to people, like you can. It's like there's no reason if you can do it, I did it, and like there's no reason that anyone else can't do it. Like I never there's nothing like different about me than anyone else that like
Yeah.
could do exactly what I do, and not just like anybody. Like look at the other people in the world that are like successful. It's like Jeff Bezos started Amazon in his garage. Like
Yeah.
that's maybe you don't like that's a a thing that anyone could do basically. Like you just there's just and you don't have to be end up being Jeff Bezos to be considered successful, but the point is you have opportunity and you can use it. So it's yeah, I mean it's really fascinating. Well, Melissa, we've probably touched on this a little bit here, but I want to make sure that I get to directly ask you, what is your why, given that that's the name of the show. And I know, we've talked a lot mindset here. We've talked a lot about of things probably in that category, but I want to give you the chance to kind of answer that question and expand upon what we've talked about if there's more to it.
Okay. So my why is my boys. And that has changed a million ways over. But my why is that the most significant change that I can make in all of humanity is to instill in my children what I believe is a good human so that they can continue to give and receive for generations to come.
I love that. I love that. I think that is, yeah, I'm 100% sure I've never articulated that well, but that, but that is ultimately what I want with my kids too. I mean, I've never been able to put it in those words, but yeah, that's incredibly important. And I think as parents, that's our job. Like
And I
that
think
is
it's
the job.
also the only thing we really have control over, right? Like our world is, there's a lot of global turmoil. There's a lot of political turmoil. I'm neither like I'm I have my own beliefs, which I'm going to keep to myself because I just feel like there's so many more options that we are just blindsided of right now. So if I can't change the world, I can do my best to instill the right kind of change in my house. And
Yeah.
instead of it trickling down, I'm going to trickle it out. So that's the only thing I can control is what I feed my children, and then hope that what I feed them, they feed others and everyone I encounter, not just my kids, everyone I talk to and everyone I touch. The only thing I can control is what I give and what I receive.
Yeah.
So if I can teach my children to do that, and they can teach everyone that they touch to do that. And, I could yell at my kids. I can't yell at the guy up the block. Okay. So I don't want to
Right.
yell at them. But that's
Yeah.
where I feel like I have the most control and will give me the most joy.
Yeah. I could not agree more. I think that's got to be the focus. I mean that is how it is. Again, you got to look at it from a long time. It's not that strategy isn't necessarily going to change the world next month, but yeah, over time, if that's our goal, that is our kids. I don't believe that I can change the world, but I believe my kids can.
Yeah.
And so I feel my job is to equip them in whatever way that means to allow them to do that. That's ultimately what I want what I want from myself. That's what I ask of myself to them. So that's kind of my goal in all of this. So I definitely agree with what you're saying. when people hear this and they want to reach out to you, what's the best way for them to connect?
So I am at Melissa Horne Realtor on all social media platforms. Feel free to call me, text me 321-831-5085. I would love to talk to anybody about mindset or how to help them reach their goals. And that's my gift to everybody. If I can give you one little tiny bit of advice to help you get to your goals, I'll be glad to do so.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, we talked a lot about parenting and mindset and all of that. But we'll make sure that in the show notes, they will be able to reach you for all of that, but also if they are in the market for some real estate.
Oh, well, so that's without being said. If you want to buy or sell a house in Melbourne, Florida, I am your girl.
Yep.
There's no doubt I will get you top dollar in the least amount of time. So, yes.
There you go. That's important that we understand also,
I'm sorry, we were just talking so deep. I just forgot about the real estate part.
We want to promote your business as well. But yeah, I think, honestly, again, I think that the everything we've talked about, it leads to more business, better business relationships, all of that. So I think it's just all so valuable. So, Melissa, this has been great. I really, really appreciate your time. I appreciate how kind of openly we got to talk about some of the heavier topics, I guess, outside of business, and I really enjoyed it. So thank you so much for being on the show.
I really appreciate it. It was a great conversation. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Folks listening, make sure that you connect with Melissa. As always, please like, rate, and review the show so we can continue to get great guests. And thank you for listening.
Hey there, I am Dr. Jason Balara, and this is the Know Your Why podcast, where we explore the why behind success. Every week, I meet with real estate investors, veterinary entrepreneurs, mindset coaches, authors, and fitness professionals to uncover their why and how it drives them on the winding road to success. What is your why?